So I believe that in the last couple of months, inside of Salesforce ecosystem, we saw probably the biggest change ever. At least the biggest change in how the platform is going to behave in the last 10 years. And I believe that if you don't really pay attention to how Salesforce ecosystem is changing right now in the last months and in the next months, then you might become obsolete in the next couple of months, years, depending on how the Salesforce is going to develop. So that's why I came out of retirement in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I decided to make this video to talk about what actually happened in Salesforce, like what's going on with the Salesforce platform, what's going on in Salesforce ecosystem, and I feel like I absolutely have to talk about all the changes that are going on, and that's why I have my protein shake here. And yeah, welcome to this kind of like solo podcast where I'm just gonna speak about a bunch of things that are important for anyone working in Salesforce that you absolutely should pay attention to. Okay, so it's gonna be a bit of a like just rumble around, and it's definitely not gonna be for everyone. It's not like I'm not gonna teach you here any kind of apex or anything, but I will tell you what's been going on in my opinion in Salesforce ecosystem and what's going to happen to a lot of people who are working with Salesforce, Salesforce admins, Salesforce developers, architect, consultants, and all of us. Okay, so one of the most important things is that yesterday I talked with Alice, and Alice is the director of the multi framework in Salesforce, and I kind of see that a lot of people really underestimate how big of a change now we have with the multi framework. Just think about this. Let's just go back in history, right? Let's go back, let's say 20 years ago, right? Salesforce was one of the platforms as HubSpot, as like all the typical platforms that we have. It was not really the platform as we know today, right? If you take someone from 2006, right? So now it's 2026. If you take someone from 2006, yeah, it's 20 years exactly. So if you take someone from that time, okay, you put them in current environment, will they understand what's going on? No. Okay? They will absolutely not understand what the hell is going on with the Salesforce and what is Salesforce in general, right? So the two platforms are completely different. The transformation that happened with Salesforce is that Salesforce went from being just a platform to basically being like a platform where you can develop stuff. They introduced Apex, they introduced Visual Force, they introduced LWC and Aura and all this type of things. Now, let me see where did they introduce. So I have here this example. Let's see if I can actually show you. Yeah, so this one, right? So this is one of those posts that I actually created, right? So if you look at this, and again, if you're listening to it, so basically what's written here is just a timeline of introduction of front-end frameworks on Salesforce. So we have in 2007, Visual Force was introduced. In 2014, so 7 years after, was Aura. Then LWC was relatively shortly after, so 4 years after. And then now 2026 we have multi-framework. Now multi-framework is, I think, way more of a change than introduction of LWC, for example. I joined Salesforce ecosystem in 2019, so it's been what 7 years? 7 years, yeah, but about 7 years for me. And I've been coding way way longer before that. But I joined it, let's say 7-8 years ago, and I think I joined like early 2019 or something. Definitely before the COVID. So in 2019, everyone was basically like running around, and they were okay. How do we go from Aura to LWC to Lightning Web Components, right? And that was like a big thing. And for the next couple of years, we had a lot of projects where we would go from Visual Force into LWC. We would complain about LWC. We would say, hey, what is going on with this LWC? I cannot generate PDFs, for example, with LWC, right? I cannot do everything I want to do with LWC, and we were kind of complaining about this. And with the time right now, there's basically almost no reasons for you to write Visualforce Aura instead of LWC. Now, the thing is gonna change. Now they introduce multi-framework, and it kind of went under radar. So I don't understand why people don't speak about this more frequently, because multi-framework is a huge thing. This is the first introduction in my Salesforce career of a new framework into the system. But it is way more important that this is not just a simple introduction of another framework, okay? It is an introduction of something that will completely change the role of a Salesforce developer. Like, I'm not joking. Because in theory, right, all this time when we had LWCs and all this type of things, I dreamed about being able to write multi-framework, to be able to write React in Salesforce, okay? But it was not possible. So before, if you wanted to become a Salesforce developer, you had to learn really specific skills that are really specific to Salesforce. Now, with the multi-framework, you can write React, which means that developers who are coming, for example, from other ecosystems, developers who are React developers, they can switch super easy into Salesforce. Before, you could also switch, right, as a front-end developer, like Carla, for example. We've been doing a bunch of cohorts together on LWC, and she's been teaching with me front-end development because she's a senior front-end developer. She's very experienced, right? So she has switched into Salesforce ecosystem without going super deep into stuff like Apex and all of this, right? So she had to learn this later. Now let me check one thing. So basically, essentially, people have been switching before, and it was fine. Now the only thing that they had to learn niche framework inside of Salesforce. Now, if you're a React developer, you can learn a little bit how Salesforce works, like how the data works, how Salesforce in general works, and then you can immediately switch into Salesforce. But then it also works the other way around. Now, in the next couple of years, if you're going to be a Salesforce front-end developer or just a Salesforce developer in general, you're gonna have way more generalized of a skill set in comparison to the people before. Okay, so this changes how you strategically can approach your career, because before, I think a lot of people, they had this kind of tension in their head that, okay, I'm gonna be doing Salesforce now, and because I'm doing Salesforce, it means that I'm gonna be like really focused on the Salesforce only. And when I learn Salesforce, when I learn LWC, Apex, doesn't mean I can't really transfer those skills to other areas, right? Am I becoming, like, when I'm learning Salesforce development, am I becoming like a developer in the broad sense of this word? Before, the answer was yeah, kind of, right? So like, we know that the software engineering skills, they're highly transferable. If you're a developer in one area, you're going to be a developer in another area in no time. But now, if you become a Salesforce developer, you truly become more of a general developer. And this is huge. This is huge. And I think it is so big that I cannot even put it like properly into the words. I'm gonna find right words to put my controversial posts on LinkedIn and all of that. But I think that people really kind of don't talk much about this. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. Multi-framework Salesforce. So how much do they have? How much do they have? Okay, so okay. So where's the Salesforce developers? Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the Salesforce developers here, so you can also see. So I'm screen screen sharing. If you're listening to it, it's fine. I'm just gonna show you what's going on there as well. So essentially, I'm showing the Salesforce developer official channel. We go to the lives. and we go here, and you can see that we have a bunch of different videos, right? So whenever you go to the Salesforce, it looks like they just have like so many different things, and it looks like um, they're not really putting a bunch of attention that this is like such a big thing, even though it actually has 21,000 views. I'm actually surprised it has that many views. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I don't know if it's 21K, like, because it's very weird because there are no comments here. Uh, Agent Force now could like be okay. Also, so like that's the problem. Basically, the video is called Agent Force now code live build React apps on Salesforce. Now, this is very unfocused. I don't think that Salesforce has the right messaging when it comes to it, because essentially what happened is that we have a complete shift in how the front end Salesforce is going to be written over the next couple of years. And this is just not focused. Like, guys, like tell more about this. Like, this is huge. This is huge. This is not just one of the releases. This has big implications for everyone who is building on Salesforce. And just just weird, this whole communication from Salesforce, to be honest. So I'm making up for the lack of their communication. I also spoke with Alice, and um, Alice, the head of this whole multi framework, and she said to me that their vision, they basically, the way they see this whole multi framework thing is that they want to make everything that you can do with LWC and Aura, everything that you can do with those technologies, they want to allow you to do with the multi framework. So right now, like at the time when I'm recording this, you can only do very limited things. It's not even available in production. Um, but with the time, they want to do that you can do everything on the multi framework. And this is very interesting, right? So we're gonna need to see how exactly it's gonna be. We need to see how exactly that's gonna be implemented, to which extent it's gonna be implemented, how fast it's gonna be implemented. Um, but if you can do anything you want on LWC and anything you want on React, which framework do you think you're gonna choose? It's an open question, right? It's a theoretical question. It's not like a question that has a definitive answer. It's not definitely a React. It's not definitely LWC. Okay, as of this moment, that's gonna be LWC for the next year, for the next 12 months. The answer for what should you choose to write front end for Salesforce in 90% of the cases is gonna be probably LWC. Okay, not React. Um, but in the future, if we speak about the next couple of years, when you plan for your career, right? When you plan what you're gonna do with your career, then you need to see where it's gonna develop. Okay, and I think this is very important for you to realize as a Salesforce developer or anyone who is like a Salesforce architect, Salesforce admin, that I think that this is gonna be a big thing. Okay, and even if React, or even if it doesn't work that well on Salesforce with time, even if the implementation of Salesforce is like half and not that great, which can happen, right? It happens to, for example, DevOps Center. It was a great idea. I was super excited about that one, but it kind of didn't live up to the expectations. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen with the multi framework, just because I spoke to the guys and I know that just because they're listening to me, just because they're speaking to me, they're speaking to the community, they are trying to communicate properly, they're getting feedback, they're asking for the feedback. Just because of this, if there's no like internal kind of politics game that's going to mess up this whole multi framework, I think that the team behind multi framework is great. So I think they're going to be able to pull it out to make like this actual multi-framework to work very well on Salesforce platform. Um, Now, what does it mean for you? Do you need to go right now and start learning React? The answer is, in my opinion, no. So I'm recording it at the end of the May 2026. Um, I think, and at least for 2026, you should not worry too much about React. Doesn't mean that you don't need to learn it, but you would not fall behind if you don't learn it, okay? But at the same time, if you want to really stay competitive, then this thing is coming. And when this whole React thing is going to become available, it's going to become that you can put it into production, that you can deploy it everywhere. When that's going to happen, then you need to be ready, because you're gonna have a huge opportunity. Okay, you're gonna have a huge opportunity of basically being able to already know a technology that's gonna come out and it's gonna stay there for many years. Now, there's one big difference that I actually didn't speak about. So let me open my protein. Here's the this is truly live recording. Now, here's the thing. There's a big difference between Visualforce, Aura, LWC, and multi-framework. And the big difference is that no one in the world except Salesforce cares about LWC. I can guarantee you, even though they open source so many things, I can tell you that no one really cares about it. Okay, except Salesforce developers, but we also don't care about it to the extent that we wanna somehow contribute to the whole LWC thing. Now, React is a different thing. React is an open source framework that is developed by the community and that's gonna live independently of Salesforce. So, for the first time in the Salesforce history, Salesforce integrates existing stuff that exists completely outside of Salesforce. Salesforce integrates it inside of Salesforce platform. And that thing is going to develop on its own pace and it's going to develop in its own way. And Salesforce is going to basically continue living with this, because the problem with the LWC is that it's just like no one else is using this. Okay, so it's not like really open source. I don't even know if LWC open source, to be honest. LWC open source, is it open source? I'm not really sure. Is it open source? Okay, so we can see it is probably open source. Yeah, Lightning Web Components. The point is that no one really cares about them. Okay, so engine and compiler. Okay, so okay, so this is fully open source, right? LWC is fully open source. Now it has 1.8 thousand stars. I don't think you can actually see it here. 1.8 thousand stars on GitHub. Let's have a look at React. React GitHub. How many stars do they have? They have what's this number? How do you say it in English? 245,000 stars. Okay. Now, this shows you the difference, how many people care about React, how many people care about LWC. Okay. There's almost 2,000 contributors to React. React was developed by Facebook. Okay. With LWC, there's 87 contributors, right? Let's have a look. 87 contributors. Versus with React, there's 1,745 contributors. React is significantly bigger thing than LWC. And the problem is not so much that LWC has like a bunch of problems. It does, okay? It does have a bunch of problems. The thing is that it's just React is so much more capable than LWC. And React will always be so much more capable than LWC. as much as Salesforce is a big company and they care about a bunch of things, and they do a bunch of releases and they produce a bunch of things on the platform, they will never be able to compete with React, which is open source framework. They just not gonna be able to compete with them. And that's why I think React and this multi framework, if that's going to be implemented well, okay, this is a big if this is going to be implemented very well, it's going to be way bigger thing than LWC or Aura or Visualforce has ever been. This is my opinion, okay? And for that means that you need to prepare for this. Like you, you just you might be looking at one of the biggest opportunities of Salesforce careers. Like I'm looking at this and I see so much potential. Like where I'm even leaving out the fact that React is just gonna be really good to implement on Salesforce. Like React has way better developer experience than LWC. It's just true. And you can really do cool stuff with React, something that you couldn't do before with the LWC, right? The state management is very good. I think they introduced state management in like what right now in LWC, right? In React, it's already solved problem for many years. So this is my opinion about this whole multi framework. So what I want from you is that I want you to pay attention to these things. It easily can come be like you easily can just mix this whole thing up and just not look at this and like just somehow lose the track of what's going on, because so many, like right now there's so much stuff going on in Salesforce, right? But this is important to pay attention to it. This is important to prepare. Now, how do you prepare? Well, if you know LWC, good news, you're prepared. Okay, you're just gonna have to spend a little bit of time to actually go through React and understand how it works specifically for Salesforce. But you are pretty prepared already. Now, if you have no front end skills in Salesforce or in general, then the way to prepare is to learn HTML, JavaScript, and LWC. Because let me tell you, the same way as Aura and Visualforce are not going away anywhere, the same way LWC is not going anywhere anytime soon. If you really want to be a full, well rounded Salesforce developer, you have to learn LWC. You just cannot avoid it, okay? I had to make a break to get my cat from getting to the snacks, and I think I just lost what I wanted to say. But my point is that the way you prepare, if you don't have any coding skills, then you better learn. And the most important is that you have to learn LWC still. It's going to be the case for the next at least couple of years where you're going to have to learn LWC. If you want to be a good developer, if you want to be a full stack developer, you have to freaking learn LWC, okay? I know that a lot of Salesforce developers, they avoid LWC because they're like, front end, I hate JavaScript. This is what I hear so many times. Like, I hate JavaScript. Like, no, you don't hate JavaScript. You just can't write JavaScript good. Like, that's the reason. If you were like really good at JavaScript, would you say that you hate JavaScript? Probably not. Okay, there are a couple of things at JavaScript that are pretty different from Apex, or from object-oriented programming, and I think it's still important for people to learn this. So yeah, you have to learn JavaScript. You have to learn HTML. I have a course for it where you learn it very fast in a nice way, with easy tasks. You just go in your own pace. It's literally the best course, by the way, on the market. So just check it out. Um, yeah, so you still have to learn it, but you also need to pay attention to the React. Now, the good thing is that by getting better at React, you also get better at at LWC and other way around. So you just become a more well-rounded developer, and you get more experience and more exposure to a bunch of different frameworks. And that's why you have to do basically all of them and to learn all of them, right? But my point is that I want to warn you to pay attention to those things, okay? So pay attention to React, pay attention to what the Salesforce produces in this thing, and once it becomes available, which I hope is going to happen in like June 2026, then make sure to test it all out, okay? And make sure to try it all out. So yeah, please do that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think about this type of episodes of podcasts where I just ramble about certain topic. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.